In Sweet Silver Blues by Glen, you can tell by the first few lines the tone of this 1950s inspired hard-boiled detective series. It takes place in a fantasy realm.
It sounded like someone was knocking with a sledgehammer. I rolled over and cracked a bloodshot eye. I couldn't see a figure through the window, but that wasn't surprising. I could barely make out the lettering on the grimy glass. Garrett, Investigator, Confidential Agent. I had blown my wad, buying the glass, and wound up being my own painter. The window was as dirty as last week's dishwater, but not filthy enough to block out the piercing morning light. The damned sun wasn't up yet. And I'd been out till the second watch bar hopping while I followed a guy who might lead me to a guy who might know where I could find a guy. All this led to was a pounding headache.
This is our introduction to Garrett, the private eye in the town of Toon Fair, and his lump of dead flesh partner. Sweet Silver Blues was first published at the beginning of 1987 and is the first book in the 14-novel Garrett Files. Each book has some sort of metal reference, like bitter gold hearts, cold copper tears, and old tin sorrows. After the first book, though, he relaxes his style of the heavy 1950s detective vibe and adds more humor into his stories, too. What makes the Garrett Files series by Glen stand out is how it blends the gritty, street-smart vibe of the classic detective novel with the rich, imaginative elements of high fantasy world. Each book presents Garrett with a complex case, the sharp dialogue, unexpected twists, and raw humor keeps things engaging. The world feels alive, dangerous, and filled with moral gray areas and gives the mysterious more weight. If you enjoy a mix of sarcasm, mystery, and magic, the Garrett Files offers a fresh, entertaining twist on both genres. So take it away, Deep Dive Crew, and tell us more about the first book in the series, Sweet Silver Blues. Buckle up.
All right, so you've dropped quite a pile on us this time. Reports, letters, even some scribbled notes that I swear look like they belong on like a conspiracy theory board.
Right.
Looks like we're diving deep into a case with this Tunfair PI, Garrett. Garrett.
Yeah, Garrett, he's got a reputation. Let's just say that.
That's putting it mildly from what I've gathered.
What I find interesting here is that the case itself seems almost ordinary at first, just a missing person case.
Right.
But then you start peeling back the layers and you realize we're dealing with something far more complex.
Yeah, it's like opening a dusty old book and realizing the story spills out way beyond the pages.
Exactly.
So we start with our guy Garrett nursing one epic hangover. Honestly, the details in these reports are something else.
Oh, I know it.
When the Tate family practically storms his office.
Oh yeah, they were desperate.
They're desperate to hire him, and something tells me money is not an issue.
And their urgency is palpable. I mean, they want him to find their son's heir, his ex-lover, to be precise. Now, this wouldn't be so strange, except she's living in the Cantard.
Oh boy.
Imagine a region just simmering with tension, political factions, whispers of magic, and let's not forget, creatures that go bump in the night. It's not exactly a vacation destination.
Okay, so we've got a high-stakes missing person case in a place that sounds like it's straight out of the dark fantasy novel. Got it. But there's got to be more to it than that. Why, Garrett? Why not go with some big shot agency?
That's where it gets really interesting. See, the Tates are incredibly secretive about their business dealings, especially Old Man Tate, the patriarch. But there's one detail that practically jumps out from the reports. Their house has a basement stockpiled with silver. And I'm not talking about a few family heirlooms. We're talking an arsenal's worth of silver.
Hold on. That's not your average home security system that screams we're dealing with something others won't touch.
Exactly. It suggests a connection to the supernatural, a world where silver holds power. Suddenly, Denny's death, the son whose heir they're looking for, takes on a whole new meaning. Was it really an accident? Or are we talking foul play with side effects?
And let's not forget, Garrett and Denny go way back. They served in the Cantor Wars together. Different branches, sure, but still.
Yeah.
That shared experience, the unspoken bond of having faced death together, it adds another layer to this whole thing.
Absolutely. It speaks to a level of trust, a shared understanding of a world most people can't even fathom. But let's not forget about the missing heir herself, Cayenne Kronk. She's not just some damsel in distress. We're talking about a woman who had a passionate affair with a soldier, lived through a war, and apparently caught the eye of some very powerful people.
Yeah, those letters they exchanged, they weren't just love notes. We're talking coded messages, military secrets, the kind of stuff that could topple governments.
It's clear that Cayenne knows things that make her a valuable asset or a dangerous liability. And as Garrett digs deeper, he's going to have to decide who to trust. Because in this world, betrayal is as common as a hangover after a night in Tunfair.
So we've got a missing heir tangled in a web of secrets, a stockpile of silver that raises more questions than answers, and a whole lot of bad guys who seem to be one step ahead.
It's like trying to navigate a maze in the dark.
Exactly. What does our intrepid PI do?
Packs for a trip, of course.
Of course. But this is no weekend getaway. Yeah, this is the Cantered we're talking about.
And the Cantor demands respect. It's not just the dangerous terrain or the volatile political climate.
Right.
It's the undercurrent of something ancient and powerful, something that whispers in the shadows.
So, okay, you're really not making this place sound very appealing.
Well, it's not.
So how does Garrett even plan to find one person in this, let's call it a challenging environment?
Well, he knows he needs more than just muscle to navigate this world, so he seeks advice from a locher. Imagine a being with centuries of knowledge, someone who's seen empires rise and fall, someone who understands the flow of power in a way most of us can't even grasp.
It's like a superpowered historian.
In a way, they're notoriously cryptic, these locher, but their insights can be invaluable if you can decipher them.
And does Garrett manage to find one he'll talk to?
He does. He seeks out a locher known only as the Dead Man.
The Dead Man? Seriously?
The irony isn't lost on anyone. But here's the thing. The Dead Man doesn't just offer advice, he issues a warning. He tells Garrett that the secrets Cayenne possesses are far more dangerous than he realizes.
How so?
Secrets that could reignite a war, apparently. He even hints at forces at play that are beyond human comprehension.
Okay, so we've got shadowy figures, whispers of ancient magic, and enough red flags to make a bullfighter nervous. You'd think Garrett would tread carefully, right?
You'd think so, but Garrett being Garrett, he does what he does best. He charges in head first, well armed, of course. The reports mention he stocks up on weapons, including some relics from his Marine days that I'm sure would make even the most hardened soldier raise an eyebrow.
So he's going in guns blazing.
Not exactly. He's not stupid, just incredibly stubborn and resourceful. He knows he can't do this alone.
So he puts together a team.
He does, and it's quite the eclectic group.
Give us the rundown.
Well, there's Morley Dotes, of course, his partner in crime, or should we say investigations.
Morley. Always a wild card.
Morley's got a knack for finding trouble, but he also has a way of getting out of it. He's resourceful, charming, and always looking out for number one.
Sounds about right. Anyone else?
This is where it gets interesting. Morley suggests they bring along a couple of Grolls for the journey.
Grolls? What are those? Some kind of Cantered creature, I'm guessing?
You got it. Imagine something akin to a very large, very strong, but not terribly bright ox.
Okay, so they're bringing along muscle.
Exactly. Grolls are incredibly strong, fiercely loyal, and surprisingly agile for their size. They're not exactly known for their intelligence, but they make up for it in sheer brute force.
This is their appetite, I bet.
You've heard the stories. Let's just say feeding a couple of Grolls is not for the faint of heart. But when you're trekking through dangerous territory, I guess a little muscle and a lot of teeth never hurts.
So they've got the brawn covered. What about brains?
They also bring along Django Rose, another colorful character, and an old associate of Morley's.
Okay, and what does Django bring to the table?
He's a bit of an enigma, Django. He's got a way with words. Some say he can talk his way out of anything. He's also rumored to have connections to some of the more unsavory elements of Cantered society.
So he's their man on the inside.
Something like that. He and his two Groll brothers add another layer of complexity to the team dynamics. It's like a ragtag group of misfits straight out of an adventure novel, each with their own unique skills and, let's be honest, their own baggage.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It often is with Garrett, but just as they're about to embark on this perilous journey, disaster strikes.
What happens?
The Tate's home is attacked, ransacked witnesses silenced. It's a brutal reminder that in this world, no one is safe, not even those who think they're untouchable.
Who would do such a thing? And why?
The attackers are a couple of shady characters named Vasco and Quinn, and they're after Denny's letters, the ones with all the secrets. It seems everyone wants a piece of this puzzle and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get it.
But the letters are with Garrett Wright.
They are. And to make matters worse, Rose and Tinny, Denny's cousins, are kidnapped during the attack.
Oh no. That's awful.
It's a hostage situation now. Vasco and Quinn want the letters, and they're willing to trade Rose and Tinny for them.
So what does Garrett do?
He does what any self-respecting PI with a heart wouldn't do.
He
Negotiates.
It's like Cruise.
He arranges a swap for the letters and the hostages. But in true Garrett fashion, he throws in a curveball.
What does he do?
He tells them where to find the letters, but he also tips off Rose and Tinny, giving them a chance to escape.
He's playing a dangerous game.
He is. And, of course, chaos ensues. People get punched. It's a whole thing.
But the important part is that he gets the women to safety, right?
He does. It's a risky move, one that could have backfired spectacularly, but it pays off. It shows us that Garrett has a code, even if it's buried under layers of cynicism and whiskey.
So he's not all bad.
No, he's not. He's willing to bend the rules, to play dirty if he has to, but he won't sacrifice innocent lives. He might not always do things by the book, but he gets the job done, and sometimes that's all that matters in the Cantered.
Okay, so last we left off, Garrett and his interesting companions were headed deeper into the Canter
Deeper into the lion's den, so to speak.
to rescue Cayenne from this mysterious Sarah Lodgda. It all sounds incredibly dangerous and, frankly, a little bit terrifying.
The Cantered has a way of doing that to you.
But it's not just about the danger, is it? We've got this whole conspiracy swirling around Cayenne and those letters.
Yes, the letters. They're not just love letters or military secrets.
Right, you mentioned they were the key to something much bigger.
They are the key to a conspiracy that reaches the highest levels of power, a conspiracy that could plunge the entire region back into war.
Okay, so the stakes are incredibly high. Lives are on the line. The fate of the Cantered hangs in the balance. No pressure for Garrett and his scroll-wrangling companions.
Right, but where do you even begin to look for someone who doesn't want to be found in a place like the Cantered? It's like trying to find a single grain of sand in a desert.
Exactly. So how does Garrett even plan to approach this?
Well, it seems like everyone in the Cantered owes someone a favor or two. Garrett calls in a few of his own, navigates a web of informants. Smugglers even has a rather unsettling encounter with a group of fortune-telling ravens.
Fortune-telling ravens. Now that's something you don't see every day.
It's a testament to the strangeness of this world, the way magic seems to infuse every aspect of life, even down to the birds in the trees. But the ravens, cryptic as their pronouncements may be, they point Garrett towards a remote village, a place whispered to be a haven for those seeking to disappear.
Okay, that sounds promising in a way.
Yeah,
But this is the Cantered we're talking about, so I'm guessing this haven isn't going to be all sunshine and roses.
let's just say it has a reputation. The kind of reputation that makes even the most hardened mercenaries think twice before venturing within its borders. It's a place where the laws of men hold little sway, where ancient traditions and darker forces prevail.
Sounds charming. So how do Garrett and his ragtag crew manage to get past the welcome wagon, or lack thereof?
Remember those Grolls? Turns out they're not just strong and hungry, they're also incredibly persuasive. Especially when there's the promise of a good meal at the end of a task.
Ah, yes, the universal language of food. It works wonders, I'll tell you. But food alone isn't going to get them to Cayenne. What kind of defenses are we talking about here?
Imagine a fortress carved into the side of a mountain, hidden amidst treacherous peaks, and shrouded in this almost unnatural mist. It's like something out of a dark fairy tale.
It sounds imposing. But it's not just the physical barriers that pose the greatest threat, is it?
Now, the reports get a little hazy here, but there's mention of spirits of guardians bound to protect the village from intruders. Some even say that the villagers themselves possess a certain kind of magic, a connection to the land that gives them an edge over outsiders.
So not exactly the kind of place you'd want to wander into uninvited.
Hey, not unless you have a death wish.
But Garrett's not one to back down from a challenge, is he?
He is not. He's come too far, faced too much to turn back now. He's going head to head with forces he may not even understand, all for a woman who may not want to be found, and a truth that could shatter the fragile peace of the region.
It's a lot to put on the line for a case.
It is, but that's Garrett for you. Always ready to dive headfirst into the deep end. And this deep dive, well, it's led us to some pretty incredible places, wouldn't you say? We've gone from a simple missing person case to whispers of ancient magic, political intrigue, shadowy figures with their own agendas, and even fortune-telling ravens.
And let's not forget the Grolls. Gotta love those Grolls. But you're right, this case, it's got layers upon layers, and just when you think you're getting close to the truth, another one reveals itself. It's what makes these deep dives so fascinating, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the thrill of the unknown, the excitement of piecing together a puzzle that's constantly shifting and changing. It's about delving into the heart of a story and discovering that the truth is often stranger and far more intriguing than fiction. But I think we've done a pretty good job of uncovering some of those hidden truths with you,
Yeah,
Glen.
I'd say we've only just scratched the surface. And who knows what other secrets and mysteries are still out there waiting to be uncovered in the vast and mysterious world of the Cantered. But for now, we'll have to leave Garrett and Kayi into their fates. Hopefully their paths will converge and justice will be served, whatever that may look like in a place like the Cantered. Until next time, this is The Deep Dive, reminding you to always question everything and never underestimate the power of a good story.